Hello guys and welcome back. Gearbox gave us a bunch of information about Borderlands 3 on April 3rd. I'll be breaking all of it down in the coming weeks, but one part I wanted to cover first was the information that we got updated on the Borderlands website, which now includes all the new and returning weapon manufacturers in game and their new gimmicks for Borderlands 3, all of which have been reworked. They've been given new logos and we get our first look at a few of the weapons. Before we get into that, make sure to follow me on Twitter at Hayder for updates on all things Borderlands in future videos. So with that, let's get right into it. Let's start with Jakobs. It says, quote, deliver devastating critical hits to enemies, soft and sensitives, then joy puke as your bullets ricochet towards other targets. So now it looks like the built-in bullet ricochet will be its new mechanic. Jakobs were originally known for their high damage and being able to fire as fast as you can pull the trigger, but it never really caught on in game and never really felt worthwhile to use. So this is a big justifiable change. On top of that, the critical hit damage could be spiked way up for Jakobs weapons, which could be really nice for revolvers and all those single shot weapons like snipers. Also, the weapons look like they might ditch the wood stock, which has been linked to Jakobs weapons in previous games. So I bet we could get some explanation of that in game, why they changed and why they're updating their weapons now. One cool thing I wanted to point out is that the silencer on the sniper up top is actually leather, which just shows Gearbox's attention to detail in everything they do. And it's just a nice touch that builds the world and really makes the manufacturers feel unique. Next, let's move on to Torgue. It says, quote, switch between regular and sticky projectile fire modes. Stickies do more damage if a bunch of them detonate on the same target. So it looks like we'll be able to now have projectiles that will attach themselves to an enemy and then explode. I think it might work similar to the dart E-Tech guns in Borderlands 2, where you will be able to fire multiple shots before they detonate. Or we might even be able to control the detonation. So with the darts or similar to the darts, we'll be able to fire a bunch of these stickies at the enemy. It will stick to them. And then once we get enough on there, we can detonate to just chain the damage and destroy bosses. Next is Hyperion. It says, quote, aim down the sights to take cover behind your weapon mounted shield and keep your finger on the trigger for increased accuracy. We've seen clips of the guns with the shield around them in the trailer, but it looks like these will now be Hyperion. They will also keep the accuracy buff that we saw in Borderlands 2 if you keep shooting. I wonder though who is responsible for making Hyperion weapons and these updated weapons, obviously, since the events of Borderlands 2 and Tales from the Borderlands. But from the ones we are shown, it looks like there still will be a mix of the Hyperion red and black guns, which were in Borderlands 2, then the updated yellow, which were also in Borderlands 2, and then the new green color, which maybe they'll give some explanation on what happened and how these guns are still being made. Next, one of the most exciting is Atlas, who we haven't seen since Borderlands 1, and it says, quote, Step 1, hit your enemies with tracker tags. Step 2, unleash a hail of smart bullets that track towards your targets. Step 3, loot. Atlas guns were overall the strongest type in Borderlands 1 with no real mechanic to them. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see something similar again on top of the smart tracker. Like damage is great for these weapons, accuracy is great, fire rate is great, just overall really great even without the smart tracker with them. On top of that, it looks like the bottom two guns will have wrist mounts. Like on top of holding the gun itself, there's a mount that actually will go on it. They also look very high tech, elaborate. And it makes seeing them again a lot more exciting because Borderlands 1 was still pretty basic, so to see what Gearbox can do with them now should be really cool. After that, we get COV, or Children of the Vault, which says, quote, enjoy uninterrupted damage dealing courtesy of, quote, infinite ammo magazines, occasionally interrupted by unpredictable overheating. These weapons have been compared to Bandit because Bandit most likely won't be returning as we are moving off Pandora and into different planets. In Gearbox, it's now made a point that they'll always cycle what this high ammo capacity weapons are. In Borderlands 1, there was S&S munitions. Then we got Bandit in Borderlands 2. And then in Borderlands the pre-sequel, we got Scav. And now it looks like we get COV in Borderlands 3. They all have, for the most part, the same traits. But this looks like it might also take on aspects of Iridian weapons with their unlimited magazine. So maybe the Calypso twins have learned how to reverse engineer some of this technology and use it for their own weapons and their own followers. After that is Maliwan. It says, quote, toggle between two elements, charge your weapon, and deal guaranteed elemental damage with your finger glued to the trigger. So it looks like Maliwan weapons will be able to switch between elements, and that hopefully could lead to legendaries that could use 3 or more elements at once. I know a lot of people got super hyped over the Borderlands 2 Reborn with the Chroma, which reworked the Sandhawk into shooting all 4 elements at once. And most of the weapons in Borderlands 2 or the pre-sequel that could shoot more than 1 element at once have also been really loved by the community, like the Thunderfire, Florentine, Chulane, weapons like that. But even just being able to switch will be so helpful, especially that might also show that Gearbox will lean more into just balance than enemy sponges. Like if they do have a shield, you will want to use shock. You just can't mow it down with fire. Or if they do have armor, you're going to want to use corrosive. So maybe the balance will be worked out better, so you actually do need to switch between elements, use them when you can, and have some more mechanics so firefights feel more engaged to the player. I bet this will also apply to the new element Submato has covered called nuclear damage. So the possibilities we could see are crazy, and hopefully we see some form of laser weapons return as well, or if they're reworked, just something similar to them. Next is my personal favorite, Vladof. It says, quote, augment these rapid firing ammo hungry guns with underbarrel attachments, including tasers, rocket tubes, and additional gun barrels. So for me, I think this is one of the coolest additions we've seen so far. All Vladof weapons look completely different from each other, and there are multiple different combinations and options for crowd control, bosses, mini bosses, just anything you could think of. And I think this goes back to Gearbox fixing how balance works and actually changing out your loadout depending on what you're fighting. After that is Dahl. It says, quote, toggle between alternate fire modes depending on your playstyle, your predicament, and your predilection for bonus damage. Before, Dahl had automatic fire when hip firing and a 3-round burst when zoomed in Borderlands 2, but now it seems like we will be able to control how we fire regardless of if we are zoomed in or not. So depending on the situation, maybe we will have a single fire option with really high damage, really high accuracy. Then we could also do a 3-round burst with a little bit lower damage, a little bit lower accuracy, but the fire rate's higher because it is firing 3-round bursts. And then an automatic mode, which maybe has less damage, less accuracy, but the highest fire rate. Once again, making you actually think about each encounter before you get there, how you want to engage with the enemies, and it can fit a lot of different play styles. And last is Tediore. It says, quote, toss your gun like a grenade to reload, then watch it pursue a nearby enemy as a fully loaded version digistructs in your hand. So this sounds pretty similar to what we saw in Borderlands 2. It follows enemies, which sounds very cool. We got a version of this in Borderlands 2 with the Deliverance. When you reloaded it, it would actually fly and shoot enemies. But now that every Tediore gun will use this, it could lead to builds other than just chucking as fast as you can fully loaded Tediore weapons, which I guess you still could do, but it'll look cooler on screen other than just exploding instantly. You could get thousands of bullets on the screen at once, all firing. And this was also the weapon that we saw in the trailer. The gun with the legs is a Tediore weapon. So Gearbox has a lot of possibilities on how they want to make all these Tediore weapons different and how each one is going to pursue enemies. Those are all the weapons from the official Gearbox website. I'm excited to try out Vladof, especially. I'm so excited. That sounds so awesome to me. But that's where I'm going to end this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like and share this video, subscribe for all things Borderlands, and I will see you guys in the next one.